Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
That was something that would have got me in more trouble if I didn't complete anything they didn't have me required to do. So I made sure that I followed every step along the way. My current job, I'm a generator technician, so I work with customers face to face all the time. And I wish I could ask the customers to say, you know, hey, give me a kind of a review, but as one of my owners said, the reviews of me as a person, customers love me. I'm a very kind person, you know. A lot of them allow me to come into their house and don't even know me, just because I'm not a violent person at all. And I hope everyone can kind of see that. You know, I know it's hard when you're just kind of looking at me as a report on a piece of paper, but that's not the type of person I am at all, not one little bit. Being able to volunteer at the firefighter station, it's given me a chance to expand my life and everything I learn. You know, I love taking all the classes and just keep expanding. You know, even with my current job, I constantly retrain, and I still don't feel like I can do it enough, and I just want to better myself as a person every way possible. And I hope we can take into consideration, you know, kind of the timeline with this. If I was more aware of the timeline thing, I wasn't trying to hide nothing. I never did. I am currently EMR certified. They did review my background as well, because I have to send a full report to them, and they did approve it, obviously with consideration, just saying, hey, you know, obviously don't get in trouble again, and I have no intentions to. I'm not a bad person. I just want to help people. That's all I want to do. So, really, other than that, I don't know. I have a lot more to say. I wasn't really prepared to kind of to speak in this.
We're all good. Okay. So with that, I will turn it back over to the committee for discussion.
Okay, again, just a reminder, Mr. McFarland, you know, you're welcome to stay for the discussion and the vote, or you can, it's totally up to you. So you're welcome to stay. Brooke, just want to confirm that we're going to adopt the record first and then move on to discussion?
Yeah, consensus to adopt the staff report or return it.
With that, I'll ask for consensus of the committee to adopt the record or return the case to the staff if additional information is needed. So I'll just look around the room for confirmation. Look online, either a thumbs up or a nod for those online. Thank you. So it looks like we do have confirmation for consensus to adopt the record, and it doesn't appear there's any objections. With that, we'll move on to discussing of aggravating and mitigating factors. So I'd like to go ahead and open up the case for a discussion. Just as a reminder, if you could state your name and then identify any aggravating or mitigating factors. So again, I open that up to the committee, either online or in the room.
So Andre Lindauer for the record. I have both aggravating and mitigating. Aggravating is violence against someone in your own home. All I have to go by is the report, and the report, including all the documentation, is concerning. However, mitigating is a true sense of humility and accepting of what happened that night and taking steps to address it. I had been concerned that not all the court-ordered restitution had been performed, and that was answered during the mitigating statement. Also, mitigating would be the preponderance of letters by people who know this person much better than we know this person based on only having read the report. That's it.
Thank you, Roger. Anyone else for discussion around aggravating and mitigating factors?
Andy Ponce for the record. I'm really struggling with this one, to be quite honest. Aggravating would be the way the altercation was described. Some of the descriptive terms are very concerning to me. The fact that the court fines still have not been paid is also aggravating. Mitigating would be the amount of letters and who the letters are from, but in this line of work and in the environment that we are facing today, public officials are facing more and more scrutiny and sometimes hostility, and we always have to remain calm and professional no matter what the situation is. And I see this type of behavior as a direct contraindication to that.
Thank you. Any other committee members to discuss aggravating and mitigating factors?
Rose Douglas for the record. For aggravating, just want to point out that we talk about honesty, and it sounds like at the beginning of the investigation there was some dishonesty about where the injuries occurred, how they occurred, and an attempt to prevent law enforcement from entering and checking on a possible victim. And then could go either way, I guess, for aggravating, just that there's no record of completion of treatment programs is a bit concerning. We've been in here a lot, and usually we see those records, those have been completed, and we hear a lot about those and what they've done for somebody. So the fact that we don't have any record of completion of a completed anger management or a substance abuse program, which I think sound like they were really important in this situation. Mitigating would be, for me, a big one is the time that's lapsed since the occurrence. This occurred in 2019. It is now 2025. So some time has passed and there's been no subsequent issues. And it sounds like he's been able to, Mr. McFarland's been able to maintain his job, his community, and give back in that time frame. So that's a mitigating circumstance for me.
Thank you, Rose. Any other committee members around the discussion of aggravating or mitigating factors in Mr. McFarland's case?
Isaac McLennan for the record. I'd like to add, I don't disagree with any of the mitigating or aggravating factors that have been stated so far. So I agree 100% with all of those. I would only add the one that I've not heard so far was a mitigating factor regarding the fact that he became aware of these fines and then immediately or at some time after that started a payment plan to pay that fine back. So I believe, while that was a problem initially, I did not know that he was in the process of paying that back, and I'd like to add that as a mitigating factor.
Thank you, Isaac. Any other committee members for discussion?
Yeah, I'll add Sean Olson, OFMA. Concur again with everything that's been said for mitigating and aggravating comments, but again, to help support the mitigating part, one, for coming in today and testifying on your behalf face to face. I know it's not easy, so thank you for doing that. Definitely help support the case and really show that you are acknowledging the mistake, and then your letters of support is very helpful. So thank you. That's all I got.
Anyone else? Committee members for discussion or discussion around mitigating factors or aggravating factors in Mr. McFarland's case? For myself, for Chris Apple, for the record, certainly the aggravating factors, I'm not going to go into that. The mitigation, again, your presence here, Mr. McFarland, is tremendous. So thank you for doing that. For me, it also means a lot that you're representing, you're standing up, you're taking accountability and responsibility, and that weighs heavily for me when it comes to that component. I agree, as Rose brought up, was the timeline. So this is back in 2019, so we're past that 5-year mark, et cetera. So I think just the weighing of what you've done since then from your testimony, and then that is certainly supported by the letters of support from so many individuals, to include, apologize, Zandra, is that right? Herself has a letter in here as well, and I think that speaks pretty loudly for me as well as a mitigating factor in this particular case. I appreciate, Val, that you've acknowledged the court fine component. That's good there, and I believe as part of your testimony, while there wasn't documentation around completion of an anger management or substance use policy, it sounds like you did complete those programs because you knew there was a piece of that, or at least I heard you mention that part. So with that, anyone else for discussion of aggravating or mitigating factors for Mr. McFarland's case? Okay, hearing no further, I'll go back to Brooke Bell Ruby to recall the factors in which the members have identified.
Thank you. Brooke Bell Ruby for the record. So for aggravating factors, we have violence against a domestic partner, the way the altercation was described in the police reports, that there are still court fines owing. This behavior contradicts the expected behavior of a fire service professional. And then dishonesty about the situation and trying to prevent police entry. For mitigating circumstances, we have that you've expressed a true sense of humility. You've taken steps to address this issue, that you have a payment plan and are paying your court fees and fines. The letters of support and the number of letters that were submitted on your behalf. The passage of time, that there have been no further issues since this initial incident. Your efforts to give back to your community, that you've come in to give verbal mitigation and taking accountability, and the stated completion of anger management and substance abuse programs. Are there any others on either side that I may have missed?
Okay, we'll just move to the group. Just look for that there's consensus on the identifying factors that have just been briefed by Brooke. Looks like in the room, thumbs up or a head nod online. Okay, looks like we have consensus on that. Now it should be a move to action or no action, correct?
That's a vote.
There it is. Here it is. Had to get the right sequence here.
Oh, sorry.
All right, next we're going to move to a recommending action or no action. This will require a vote by the committee. I would look for a motion and a second to either take action or no action in Mr. McFarland's case.
Rose Douglas for the record, I recommend no action.
So I have a motion for no action from Rose
Second, Jack Carrier.
and a second by Jack Carriger. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, if DPSST staff, Madison, if you could roll call vote, please.
This vote is to take no action on Jesse McFarland's case. Committee member Heppel,
Aye.
committee member Carragher,
Aye.
committee member Morneau,
Aye.
committee member Ponce,
Aye.
committee member Olson,
Aye.
committee member Douglas,
Aye.
committee member Lindauer,
Aye.
committee member McLennan,
Aye.
committee member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried, no action.
Okay. So go ahead and if you guys want to exit out of here, and then I will be in touch with you after the meeting is over. So I'll give you a call with what'll happen next. Okay?
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, that completes agenda item number 4. We'll move on now to agenda item number 5. Right now, Kayla is retrieving the mitigator from the lobby and is going to escort them to the boardroom. We'll do the same piece again. I'll provide the instructions to the mitigator. Brooke will then introduce the case. We'll hear from the mitigator and then move on through the discussion process.
Have a seat right here.
Good morning, sir. If you just introduce yourself for the record.
Yeah, my name is John Coda.
John Coda, great. Thank you very much. John, I'm just going to go ahead and read some instructions for you here, and then we'll introduce the case, and then we'll hear from you. Okay? So you're going to have 5 minutes to present a statement to the Fire Policy Committee. There are no questions or conversations between the Fire Policy Committee or the mitigator as allowed. Once the time is up, the committee will discuss your case. You may stay for the discussion and the vote, or you may exit. Okay? With that, I'll have staff, Brooke Bell-Ruby, go ahead and introduce the case.
Thank you. Brooke Bell-Ruby for the record. This case is for John Coda. So DPSST staff received an application for certification for John Coda in July of 2024. During our routine background check on applications for certification, staff found that Coda had a criminal conviction in his history. In October of 2022, Coda pled guilty to and was convicted of assault and battery in the state of Virginia, and destruction of property, both of which are class 1 misdemeanors in Virginia. This case requires review by the committee because it involves violence against a person and destruction of property. The following is a summary of the incident that led to Coda's arrest and conviction. On or around September 3rd, 2021, police responded to an assault report from a local property manager. The property manager, who was also the victim, stated that Coda, an employee, entered his office, approached him from behind and placed an arm around his neck and demanded his car keys and the vehicle's location. After obtaining the keys, Coda took the vehicle and fled the scene. The following day, September 4th, 2021, police were notified that the stolen vehicle had been involved in a serious crash. The police report confirmed that both vehicles were totaled, and Coda sustained injuries and was taken to the hospital, while the other driver was unharmed. After his release from the hospital, Coda voluntarily turned himself in to the police, and he was taken into custody without incident and did not provide a statement. Staff found the following as relevant circumstances for consideration. Coda was not affiliated with an Oregon Fire Service agency at the time of this incident or conviction. He was not certified in the state of Oregon at the time. The police crash report indicates Coda was not under the influence of alcohol or drugs in this incident. He has a payment plan in place for his victim's restitution and court fees, and he was not placed on probation. So now you'll have 5 minutes to give a statement, and I will set a timer and give you a 1-minute warning. And then the committee will discuss, okay?
Okay, that's great. First of all, thank you for your time and consideration of this mitigation hearing. I would like to start this by stating that the crisis that I went through was through being unable to manage stress effectively and deal with pressure. Thus made me want to help others going through their own crisis and prevent further avoidable problems within all communities. There was a long time period that I didn't know how or what to do or how to reach out to someone. I felt like there was no problem I couldn't solve on my own, and this was before coming in contact with 10 Mile Fire. The resources that are in all communities that are available to the public I never knew existed. This is how I want to devote my life to giving back, being trained in a level that I can help make those connections for the public to the resources and care. I was working at Gates Hudson Property Management Company for nearly 2 years. In those 2 years, one of my main duties as maintenance technician was being entrusted with 3 master keys where I had access to all the doors of the high rise of hundreds of tenants and 2 other properties that had even more residents. My job was to ensure the full function of these buildings, coordination with all the vendors, and keep up with building codes and laws. Security for all the residents and tenants, maintain a sense of security, and improve and maintain quality of life throughout. I never received a write-up, a disciplinary action, or a complaint from any of the residents. They trusted me to have access to their livelihood and their families, built a rapport with everybody, and trusted that I would solve any problem that they had with proficient time management while maintaining integrity, honesty, and professionalism. I was on call every other week for the emergencies of all the buildings if there was an issue, and always accommodated my own personal life to fulfill the expectations and necessary requirements of the job. On that day, the day of the event, the victim was an employee in the office, and it was on his 3rd day at the property, filling in from another property. I was introduced to him on his first day and didn't exchange any conversations. We did not develop a relationship with each other. The morning of, I went into work under a compound of stress from my outside life. All I was contemplating was a way out of my current situation and had no plan on how to accomplish that goal. Then everything changed in 30 seconds. I walked over to him, put him in a rear headlock, and I asked him for his keys and where his car was parked. And when he told me, I immediately rolled him out of his office chair, and he said, he asked me, "What are you doing?" And I ignored him, and I walked out. And I went to his car, where I left my personal truck in a monitored parking garage, and went back to my house, packed a bag, and headed southeast. I drove about 6 hours and realized I made a great mistake, and I just wanted this new situation I just put myself in to be over-amended. I turned around and headed north back to the city to return the car, and about 4 hours into the return trip, I collided with the trailer and was in a very serious car crash. I woke up in the hospital for surgery, and I was released, went back to my house, and got a ride to the nearest police department where I turned myself in. Since I wasn't there for the initial report of the incident, the charges that were applied were the harshest and were to be sorted out in court. And the toxicology did show that I had nothing in my system ranging from marijuana, alcohol, or drug of any kind. The report states that it was my property manager that was a victim, and it was, in fact, the front desk office employee.
You have 1 minute.
1 minute? Okay. That day I brought my personal life to work, and this was the result of not finding a better solution to handle my life outside of work. 1 minute. Okay. My girlfriend at the time was a kickboxing trainer, and she was an avid drug user. She was romantically involved with a few of her dealers, and it became a lot more serious and brought the threat of the drug world back to the house. And I did not know how to deal with it. So after a while, this is what happened. This is my biggest failure, regret, and very ashamed that I allowed myself to be driven by fear. I will go as far as I can in the EMS and fire service as the state and federal permits me. Even if I'm not able to obtain a medical provider license, I can still achieve a degree. And
Sorry, we have to stop you.
That was it.
Yeah, sorry, we have to stop you.
Okay. Understood.
Thank you. So now I'll turn it back over to the committee for discussion.
Okay, prior to discussion, we'll go ahead and we've been presented with the case, and we've also heard from the mitigator in this particular case. We're looking for a consensus. I'm going to ask for a consensus by the committee to adopt the record or to return the record of the case to the staff for additional information needed. With that, I'll look for, do we have consensus? Looks like I do in the room. Looking online, either by a head shake or a thumbs up. Thank you very much. So I will confirm that the committee has consensus to adopt the record. With that, we'll move forward to the discussion of aggravating and mitigating factors. And then we'll discuss this, we'll look at this through a consensus. So I'll open up the case for discussion. Just a reminder to state your name and identify any aggravating or mitigating factors. At this time, I open it up to the committee.
One moment, there's a spider on
Yeah.
the table. So I'm here that.
That's mitigated.
Yeah. Thanks.
It was an aggravating situation that's now been mitigated. Excellent. All right. With that, again, I'll open up to the committee for discussion of aggravating and mitigating factors around Mr. Coda's case.
Andy Ponce for the record. On this one, I mostly have mitigating. I'm impressed by the fact that he's actually putting himself through school, attaining a degree. Is a lot of work, shows a lot of commitment. The realization that he was ill prepared to handle that situation, didn't handle it correctly, but he's also taken the steps to mitigate a lot of those weaknesses or work on those to make them strengths. You know, the fact that he recognized the importance of mental health in the fire service, this career path and this lifestyle will take a toll on you. We all carry those falls and things that we have to see and do in this career with us. And understanding that and knowing how to deal with those, I think will set him up for success. So that's a mitigating factor for me.
Thank you. Any other committee members with aggravating or mitigating factors?
Andre Lindauer for the record. The aggravating is that it happened relatively recently, but the mitigating is the amount of preparation that he took to write the letter. I have rarely seen such a well thought out, bulleted point mitigation letter. I realize he is very nervous being in front of us. The tone of his speech didn't really match the tone of the letter, but the important parts were brought up in the letter. And the other overwhelming support from people in his life also appear to be mitigating.
Thank you. Any other committee members?
Gary Denny for the record. Aggravating, obviously, destruction of property, violence against people, and the recent timeline. Mitigating, I agree with everything else that was said. The support of his peers and his chief. He's obviously remorseful, and he has completed therapy.
The discussion's still open. Any other committee members? Aggravating, mitigating?
Isaac McLennan for the record. I'd like to add some aggravating and mitigating factors. Aggravating being the decision to use violence, theft, to deal with the issues that he was in his life. The mitigating that I have not heard is the realization that what he did was wrong, and then essentially making the decision on his own to turn himself back in, and right here in front of the committee, own what he did. And I believe those are mitigating factors.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mitigating aggravating factors. Chris Hubble for the record. I agree with the previous comments by committee members. I'd also like to thank Mr. Cuff for being here today and presenting your case. That means a lot to me, as well as you had clear support from Chief Henderson through his particular record, but also just the other community members and folks who he is associated with or works with also support him in his efforts since this unfortunate incident has occurred. So I look at the letters of support as a strong mitigating factor for me in this particular case. With that, anyone else? Last call for discussion here on aggravating mitigating factors. Hearing none, we'll go back to Brookville Ruby to recall the factors that were identified by the members.
Thank you. Brooke Valley Ruby for the record. So for the aggravating circumstances, we've identified the lack of time passed since the incident and conviction, destruction of property, violence against a person, using theft and violence to solve an issue. The mitigating circumstances that we found are his going to school shows a lot of commitment, taking steps to handle his mental health and challenges better, well thought out mitigation letter, being here to give mitigation in person, the letters of support from his chief and community. He has demonstrated being remorseful, the completion of therapy, and the recognition that he had made a mistake during the situation and then taking steps to correct that in the moment. Are there any others that I may have missed? Hearing none, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Okay, hearing none, just looking for a consensus from the committee that the aggravating factors which were identified were captured correctly. So look for consensus in the room. It's like I do. Online, thumbs up or a shake of the head. Thank you, and I will confirm there is consensus on the identifying factors. With that, we'll move on to recommending action or no action. I'll call for a motion and a second to either take action or no action from the committee.
Andre Lindauer, I move no action.
Okay, I've got a motion for a no action.
Sean Olson, OFMA, I'll second.
And a second from Sean Olson. Any discussion on the motion by the committee? Hearing none, I'll move to DPSST staff. Madison Hockett, if you could call for the roll for the call for the vote. I got the sequence wrong here. So call for the vote.
All right. This vote is to take no action on John Coda's case. Committee Member Heppel.
Aye.
Committee Member Carragher.
Aye.
Committee Member Morneau.
Aye.
Committee Member Ponce.
Aye.
Committee Member Olson.
Aye.
Committee Member Douglas. Aye. Committee Member Lindauer.
Aye.
Committee Member McLennan.
Aye.
Committee Member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried. No action.
Okay, that motion carries with no action.
So we'll have you exit out this way, and then as soon as we're done with the meeting, I'll give you a call and let you know kind of what
Thank
the
you.
next steps are.
Okay, that completes agenda item number 5. So moving on to number 6, this will be a continuance of fire discretionary case reviews. With that, I believe we do not have a mitigator for this case. Is that correct?
Correct.
Staff? Okay. So I will then turn it over to Brookville Ruby to present the case.
Yes, thank you, Brookville Ruby. For the record, as a little bit of background, because I'm not sure if we've ever done this before, but if somebody comes through the committee and the committee determines to deny or revoke their certifications, there is like a 1-year period where they cannot reapply. And then after that period, they can reapply again, but if they fall within that look back period, they come before you again. And the reason for that was to account for the passage of time and to kind of put more of a structure in place, because previously there would just be kind of set amounts of time between 6 months and 7 years where people would be denied and revoked. So this was to give people the opportunity to reapply and have the committee re-review and take into account further mitigation. So with that, the committee initially reviewed the case for Rhett Sunia in November of 2022. They recommended that the board take action against his fire certifications, and the board affirmed. Sunia's applications were denied and he was ineligible to reapply until January 26 of 2024. Staff received an application for certification in April and then an E1 application for certification eligibility in September, which triggered a second review as his conviction still falls within the 5-year look-back period. In November of 2020, Sunia was convicted of reckless driving, a misdemeanor in the state of Oregon. This case requires review because the crime and conviction involved dishonesty and property damage. The following is a summary of the incident that led to Sunia's arrest and conviction. On October 13, 2019, University of Oregon campus police responded to multiple reports of a vehicle hit and run and a driver suspected of being under the influence. Witnesses observed a vehicle driving through the grass, colliding with a concrete barrier, and then fleeing the scene. The vehicle was later discovered lodged on a ramp between 2 campus buildings, and Sunia was in the driver's seat. A witness who saw the crash checked on Sunia, reporting that he was difficult to wake. Upon waking, Sunia stated to the witness he had been high on MDMA. However, during the police questioning, he repeatedly denied drug use, giving vague explanations about the incident and claimed he was just tired. Campus police conducted a breathalyzer test, which revealed Sunia's blood alcohol content to be 0.10%, which is above the legal limit. Staff found the following as relevant circumstances for consideration. Sunia was not certified at the time of the incident, and he was not employed in public safety at the time. He was under the legal age to consume alcohol. He was dishonest with the arresting officer about his intoxication while driving. The University of Oregon evaluated the damage and found that the extent of the damage did not warrant any monetary repairs. Sunia did not choose to give verbal mitigation, so we will return to the committee for consensus on the staff report.
I'll ask, or I'm looking for consensus by the committee to adopt the record or return the case to staff if additional information is needed. Is there any additional information needed? Hearing anything, so I will move to ask for consensus by the committee to adopt the record. Any objections? Good on the room. Looks like I'm good online. The committee has confirmed consensus to adopt the record. We'll now move on to discussion of aggravating and mitigating factors. So I'd like to go ahead and open up the case for discussion. Remember to state your name and identify any aggravating or mitigating factors. So I open up for discussion at this time.
Rose Douglas for the record. So I was on this case originally the first time. So I don't want to get away from the aggravating circumstances being the dishonesty, the recklessness, could have put a lot of people in danger. We kind of talked about those aggravating. I think this is the first time I've done a review of one we've already done. So I don't know if this is 100% like the lines to go down, but mitigating for me is that we revoked the certifications for a 1-year period. So in that sense, there's been that, I guess, punitive has occurred. This person was got an MIP, so they were under 21 in 2019. Mitigating, there's a pretty big difference between that age and the individual's current age, with no subsequent that we've been made aware of, at least, which I assume the fire policy would know as they looked into this, that there's no subsequent circumstances since then that have repeated this. He completed a diversion program that essentially dismissed the DUII. And so it has been quite some time since this incident has taken place. This would be my mitigating.
Thank you. Any other committee members for aggravating or mitigating?
Jack Carriger for the record. I just would say I think Rose's comments are very apropos for the behavior of a 19-year-old and the decision-making process of somebody that's gone through this last 5 years trying to do the right thing and put himself in the right situation. And I would say that's a good example of maturity and becoming a responsible adult.
Okay. Thank you. Any other committee members?
Yeah, Joe Morno, OFDDA. I'm also the president of the Coburg Fire District. Rhett is a top class person, from my opinion, what I've seen working with my staff. He came in here as a volunteer. His family's been donating their time to the community for probably 20 years. And now he's on with the Corvallis Fire District. So we're proud to have him. And I'd like to see this young kid get a second chance. I think he deserves it. So just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee members?
I'll go ahead. Sean Wilson, OFMA. I would agree too with the mitigating circumstances. This was, I think, enough time has passed. Young, making dumb decisions, obviously paid for it, and there's nothing from now and then that's been reoccurring. So I think he's paid for what he did. So I think moving forward, like we were mentioning, is about being an adult, growing up, make a mistake, oops, and so now he's moving on. So that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Brooke, maybe you can just provide some clarification for me. The 5 years, does the 5-year clock start on the time of the incident, which in this case was October 13th, 2019?
It's the conviction date.
It's the conviction date.
Yeah, so that's why I included these certification outcome timelines. So the last date on there shows you if we were like to not, if I wasn't to get an application this last year, but I got an application on November 13th of 2025, that would have been the last day that, or the day before would have been the last day we would consider it. Yeah, so it's based on the conviction date. So, you know, as the passage of time, you can also consider from the incident itself to the length of the court process. Sometimes can be quite lengthy, so yeah.
So just in terms of mitigating factor in this particular case is that it did occur back in 2019. We're well past 5 years. I've heard what Brooke had to say in terms of the timeline that just added to it in this particular case. And so I agree with the other groups, committees, and just the timeline, and appreciate the words of the staff on this piece. So any other aggravating or mitigating factors from committee members? Then ask staff, Brookville Ruby, if you could recall the factors identified by the members.
Thank you, Brookville Uribe, for the record. So for aggravating, there's just a couple that Rose had mentioned, but those were related from the initial fire policy committee review, which included dishonesty, and then just his initial conviction of a crime. For mitigating circumstances, that he was already denied certification, so considering that as a form of punishment, that he has had no subsequent convictions since this incident. He completed a diversion program for his DUI charge that was related to this incident. The passage of time, that he's working in the fire service, and this demonstrates that he's trying to be a responsible adult. And again, related to the passage of time, that the actual incident occurred in 2019. So again, the passage of time has played a big factor in this. That's what I came up with.
Okay.
Were there any further that I may have missed from the committee?
Okay, hearing none, I'd like to just confirm through consensus that the staff has captured the identified factors. I'll look in the room, confirmation. Online, head nod, thumbs up. Great, and we do have committee consensus on the identified factors. Next, we'll move on to recommending action or no action. This will take for a vote. So I'll look for a call. I will look for a call for a motion and a second to take action or no action. One of the pieces I was just briefed on to also add is if you do choose to move the motion as an action or take action, if you could provide some reasoning as to why you have chosen that. So I'll open it up to the committee for the motions.
Jack Carrier, I make a motion to take no action.
You just express some of the why.
Time, commitment to making it right, and proving over the last 5 to 6 years that he's dedicated to making himself better and giving back to his community.
Thank you. So I have a motion to take no action.
Rose Douglas. for
Andy
record.
Pontiff. Oh, go ahead.
Second.
Okay, so I got a second from Rose Douglas. With that, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, if DPSST could do a roll call vote.
This vote is to take no action on Rhett Sunia's case. Sorry about that. We will start with Committee Member Heppel,
Aye.
Committee Member Carriger,
Aye.
Committee Member Morneau,
Aye.
Committee Member Ponce,
Aye.
Committee Member Olson.
Aye.
Committee Member Douglas.
Aye.
Committee Member Lindauer.
Aye.
Committee Member McLennan.
Aye.
Committee Member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried, no action.
Okay, and that should complete agenda item 6. Okay. Next, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, which is looks like a pretty easy topic: proposed rule changes to NFPA 1010 professional qualifications for firefighters. Sounds easy. If DPSST staff, Brookville Ruby, if you could summarize and introduce the discussion.
Yes, thank you. Brooke Valley for the record. So in January of 2024, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, officially updated NFPA 1001 standard for professional qualifications for firefighter into NFPA 1010. So this update rolled several standards into one larger standard. For DPSST's purposes, this update also includes firefighter 1 and 2, the entire driver series, airport firefighter, and everyone's favorite marine firefighting for land-based firefighters. So to give each subject the time and attention it deserves, we've broken down the standard update into separate task forces. So on October 1st, 2024, the NFPA Firefighter Task Force convened at DPSST to review and discuss the 2024 edition of NFPA 1010 as related to Firefighter 1 and 2 and its implications for the fire service. The task force was well attended and resulted in good discussion and guidance for staff. The key takeaways from this task force meeting are that the task force recommended adopting the 2024 edition of NFPA 1010 to ensure Oregon maintains up-to-date and nationally recognized fire service standards. The task force also proposed that a new certification, NFPA support person, be introduced to formalize a non-hazardous support role in operations. This certification will allow individuals who do not meet all of the Firefighter 1 qualifications to assist in logistics, administration, and operational support without engaging in hazardous situations. The support person certification requirements will include completion of an approved training program, completion of a task book or a task performance evaluation, a 3-month experience requirement as determined by the authority having jurisdiction or AHJ, and EMS requirements consistent with Firefighter 1 and 2 certification levels, also to be determined by the AHJ. The support person certification is not intended as an additional qualification for those already certified as Firefighter 1, though someone could choose to lapse their Firefighter 1 and become certified as a support person. There's no need to go back to be certified as a support person if intending to maintain your Firefighter 1 certification, and it is not a prerequisite for Firefighter 1 or 2. The task force also discussed a few clarifications to certification requirements. They reviewed the language on experience requirements for Firefighter 1 and 2, and agreed to maintain flexibility for AHJs in defining the 6-month to 1-year requirement by ultimately leaving the language as it was before. The EMS certification requirements for Firefighter 1 remain unchanged except for an update to the chapter reference from NFPA 1010. This requirement is also still determined by the AHJ. A new job performance requirement, JPR 7.3.3 on thermal imaging was added to Firefighter 2, and it will be added on the application and the task book. The task force determined it would be best to have the support person as its own application, separate from NFPA Firefighter 1 and 2, to help prevent the confusion of it being a prerequisite level. The task force discussed task books and made small updates to clarify the rules in task sign-offs versus authorized signers who validate the task books for completion. In going through these updates, some questions related to the redundancy of checkboxes were brought up, and staff recommended continuing with the current number of checkboxes and then working to gather a work group to address specifics of more functionally formatting task books and applications in the near future. The guide to certification will be revised to reflect the new standard and clarify the NFPA support person certification, and this will be accessible on the website with the relevant applications for certification. So that's a summary of the changes and the task force meeting. Are there any questions about any of the things that we review or concerns about anything that I may not have talked about?
Rose Douglas, for the record, I do have one particular question. First of all, I just want to say thanks to the task forces and all of you that worked on the task forces. I think a lot of us in this room have been on those task forces. And it is sometimes a very long day or multiple days, and it's a lot of work. So I really, really appreciate that. My question was related to the statement on the front of the books here. I'm looking between Firefighter 1, 2, and support person. And so a point of clarification. This might be a question really for you, but it says that the designation as the department head or training officer does not waive the requirement to be certified in the level being signed off. And I noticed that, for example, on the support person, it gives different instructions
Oh.
where it says, you have to be certified as an NFPA support person or a firefighter one or have DPSST approval. So I guess my question is that statement gonna change task book to task book? And I do understand why for the support person, because I think I was on the task force for live fire instructor in charge and it was brand new. And so our question was like, who's gonna sign anybody off? Nobody has this. And we were told the designee or the training is always given permission to sign those off. And so that's my clarifying question. Is this new? Is it, and
So,
yeah, so that's.
Just as a matter of practice, and there actually isn't a lot in Oregon Administrative Rule about task books, which is another project that we will tackle in the future. But the process is that the tasks themselves are to be signed off by somebody who is qualified at that level, and by qualified, DPSST means certified. Nobody is certified as an NFPA support person at this time, but the NFPA support person level is kind of an abbreviated firefighter 1. So the task force felt it was appropriate that anybody who's at a firefighter 1 has covered all of the training that would have been required for support person. So there's no fear that they don't have the qualifications for their tasks. This has been kind of, I guess, confusing throughout the fire service that a training officer or chief is not allowed to just sign off on any task because they may not have qualifications to sign off on those tasks. So we are trying to clarify that, which is why the task books have several spots of direction. If there are new levels of certification, like live fire instructor in charge, for example, we do make clarifying statements, but the general rule of thumb for structural levels is that anybody signing off on the tasks has to be certified. We have also introduced a process that somebody can demonstrate their qualifications like we do for content experts, but they have to be DPSST approved prior to doing that. And again, that's just to ensure that the people who are witnessing these tasks being performed are actually qualified to sign off on those tasks for everybody's safety. Does that clarify that?
It does clarify it. I have a little concern for some agencies within the state of Oregon, I suppose. You know, you take a very rural, small agency who decides, hey, we want to level up, or we've never done DPSST certifications, and now we want to jump on board, you know, because we have those agencies, and we want to commit to this and show improvement. And for them, it is a new certification. They be very far removed from another agency that can come in and sign off that book. So say you have an agency that says, we've only done firefighter 1, because that's all we really, and now we want to do firefighter 2, we want to start going for grants, whatever it may be, and we don't have somebody within this organization readily available to get people signed off. And, you know, would it be, I know so our DLO, for example, is with our agency, and so we have Kayla come out and do ours, you know, and so for her, say I was signing something off that in our particular agency, we have our fire marshal that's going for higher and higher certs, and sometimes it's really hard. None of us are certified in that. And so our understanding was if someone's available, we absolutely direct him to get signed off by them. But there are times in lieu of where, as somebody in charge of the training division and routinely works on task books, I can read through something and go, yes, that definitely qualifies in this circumstance and that we can sign it off. And so that's my concern with that, is just that inhibiting people from going for higher and higher certifications because, well, nobody in my department has done it. And so that can make it really challenging. So that's my concern with kind of a...
And I think that, I mean, that kind of is somewhat the point. You know, if you as an agency want to complete this and you want it to become a regular thing in your department, then you may have to complete a little extra work. We are always happy to help connect people. So I get calls from people, you know, fire officer 3 and 4 and they're like, well, I'm in this region, we don't have anybody, I can run a report and see everybody in the state that's, you know, certified in these levels. So our goal is not to like unnecessarily challenge the fire service, but especially if an individual is completing a task book for a specialized level, I think we are setting a standard, and it's not really meant to just be evaluated by anybody. And if we have, you know, something a more common level of like a firefighter 2, that's easier to do. But like the more specialized level, like inspector 3 or fire officer 3 and 4, as I said, I think it really is important to have those qualified eyes on those tasks to ensure that, you know, this person meets those skills, and then they can go on and they can help other people meet those. But I think that's just been our kind of thought behind it.
Yeah,
Kayla?
well put. Kayla Ballrock for the record. So agree with everything that Brooke said, but also just to add to it. So we do now also have the form. So if someone has been operating in fire officer 3 and 4 level for several years and they just never got the certification, we have a form that Brooke created that they would fill it out, provide their qualifications, and then now they're able to sign off on task books. So that is one option. And then another option is a lot of those levels of certification, not all of them, but a lot of them can be completed through task performance evaluations. So that's kind of when Brooke would kind of create a report, see if there's anyone certified in that area, and then hopefully that person, those two people can connect and maybe knock out some task performance evaluations in a day rather than work on a task book for 6 months or whatever. That's a huge commitment for someone not in that area or not next door or at the department. So there's always, we really try to work with everyone and provide those options. We just want to make sure we're avoiding just any chief or training officer signing off on a level of certification that they may not know anything about, like something like technical rescue if they've never done technical rescue, or you know, something along those lines that they're not really sure what they're signing off on, but they're signing off. So that's the whole kind of goal of it. But like I said, and like Brooke said, we're always willing to work with those people and make sure that they have an option for testing and sign-offs. But understood too, yeah.
Any other questions about any of this? Okay. So now I was going to turn it over to Jennifer Howell to discuss the actual rule changes and the fiscal impact.
Thank you, Brooke. Jennifer Howell for the record. So if the Fire Policy Committee chooses to recommend that the board adopt the NFPA 1010 for the Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, and Support Person certifications, those will need a rule change, supporting rule changes to help implement and codify those decisions. So that's what has been prepared for you and shows on pages 6 through 8 of your memo. The first rule, 259.009.005, is a definition rule, and it includes the formatting change where NFPA 1010 uses a one-word term firefighter instead of the separated terms. So we've updated that throughout, as well as added some language from the definitions that are used in the NFPA to make sure our definitions align, and then adding support person. Rule number 259.009.0062 is the fire service professional certifications. It outlines all of the standards that have been adopted. So you'll see the transition of the standard from 1001 to 1010, the change of the year, the insertion of the requirements for support person. Support person was added as A, and the others changed to B and C so that they appeared in level order, entry level up to the more advanced. And then we also inserted the EMS training requirement. It's always been a part of the application for certification for Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2. Adding it to the administrative rule just provides that continuity between all of the requirements through the application process and all of the requirements listed there in the rule. And then the third rule that's listed is 259.009.006, 6.5 for maintenance, not changing any of the maintenance requirements, but updating the term firefighter and inserting the new certification of support person. So with that, with every administrative rule change, there's a fiscal impact statement process that goes with that. And those are also provided in the memo. To summarize the fiscal impact statements, there are no fiscal impacts identified for implementation of the 2024 NFPA 1010 standard as the standard for support person, firefighter 1, and firefighter 2 certifications. A few of the factors that were considered for that. The 2024 NFPA 1010 changes to firefighter 1 and 2 for knowledge, skills, and job performance requirements will be reflected in the updated task book and application for certification. The task force did not find any changes to the knowledge, skills, or JPRs that would result in fiscal impact for completion of the task books towards DPSST certifications. Fire service professionals who are currently working to complete task books that were initiated under the previous standard, the 2019 NFPA 1001, are allowed a grace period to complete the task book that they've already initiated. DPSST approved task performance evaluations will continue to be accepted in place of task books. Often there's a question of when there's a title change, will there be new certifications? And there will not be new certifications issued. So all certifications that previously existed, it's still the same certification. And then just the voluntary nature of the certification process. But I'd be happy to answer any questions about rulemaking processes. Thank you.
Jennifer, just for edification of the group, so from here, if it gets approved by fire policy, then it goes to the board, and then after the board, then what happens for the group?
Great question. Thank you. Jennifer Howell for the record. So we have implemented the process where once the Fire Policy Committee makes its recommendations, so if you make the recommendation to adopt the standard and approve the proposed rule changes, DPSST will then file the proposed rule changes, opening up that public comment period. So we want to collect all the public comments and find out if there are any issues that haven't been identified, any concerns from fire constituents, so that when it gets to the board, it doesn't have to get returned back. So if we receive comments and it's substantive to either the fiscal impact or the content changes, then we would withdraw it from the board and bring it back to the policy committee to be resolved first. So Fire Policy Committee recommendation, public comment on proposed rule changes, and then board approval. After the board approves, there'd be a set effective date of the rule change that would make it the new standard. Okay.
Great. Any other questions? Jennifer? Go. Back to me.
Yes, for the vote consensus and then another vote.
Okay, any further discussion on this agenda topic? So maybe I'll do the same in terms of just the staff work. I've sat on a number of these task forces and know what it involves, and so thank you to that. I think the other piece is just the introduction of a support person into the certification process and the value that many of us hope it will bring. We have struggled, if you're not aware, for I think 5 to 7 years around like a non-entry firefighter type of person, and how can someone be of certified value on the fire ground and in a more professional manner, and it's vetted, and we've done these things, and this is helping us, going to help us move in that direction. I also think from a perspective of I believe that we all have a space in the fire service, so we need to create those spaces. And by bringing in this type of thing, I think it's going to capture many folks that are like, my desire, which is actually one of my goals, is to be tender driver of the year. You can get to that space and in this place and still have a feeling of belonging and worth and value and stuff to the organization, and much of that comes from the credentials in which we hold. And so I'm appreciative from that perspective from NFPA, as well as the work done by DPSST and the groups that reviewed this and we're moving forward on. Any other discussion? Okay. I'd like to move towards a call for a motion and a second to recommend or not recommend that the board adopt the recommendations provided by the NFPA Firefighter Task Force.
First up, for the record, I move that we adopt it.
Okay, so I've got a motion to recommend,
Yes.
Jack Carrier, second.
and I've got a second from Jack Carragher for the record. With that, I'd ask DPSST, Madison, if you could do a roll call vote.
This vote is to recommend the board adopts the recommendations made by the NFPA Firefighter Task Force. We'll start with Committee Member Heppel,
Aye.
Committee Member Carragher,
Aye.
Committee Member Morneau,
Aye.
Committee Member Ponce,
Aye.
Committee Member Olson.
Aye.
Committee Member Douglas.
Aye.
Committee Member Lindauer.
Aye.
Committee Member McLennan.
Aye.
Committee Member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried to recommend to the board.
Excellent. Next piece is just to gain consensus to affirm or amend the fiscal impact statement. Are there any recommendations to amend the fiscal impact statement as presented by Jennifer? Hearing none, I'll go around the room just looking for a consensus to the fiscal impact statement as presented. Looks good in the room. Look for a nod or a thumbs up online. Okay, and we have a consensus for that. Lastly, I'll call for a motion and a second to approve the filing for the proposed rule changes for OAR 259-009-0005, OAR 259-009-0062, and 259-009-0065 as permanent rules. Again, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve filing.
I'll make a motion to approve. Sean Olson, OFMA.
Okay, motion to approve. Looking for a second?
Jack Carrier, second.
And we have a second. DPSST staff, Madison, if you could initiate a roll call vote.
This vote is to recommend that the board approves filing the proposed rule changes. Start out with Committee Member Heppel.
Aye.
Committee Member Carragher.
Aye.
Committee Member Morneau.
Aye. Aye.
Committee Member Ponce.
Aye.
Committee Member Olson.
Aye.
Committee Member Douglas.
Aye.
Committee Member Lindauer.
Aye.
Committee Member McLennan.
Aye.
Committee Member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried to recommend to the board.
Excellent. That should close out agenda item number 7, the proposed rule changes for the firefighter work. Okay, awesome. Moving on next to item number 8, the Fallen Firefighters Memorial Wall nomination for firefighter Benjamin Sapper. I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to staff, Brooke Ruby, for the summary.
Brooke Ruby for the record. So on August 4th of 2023, Benjamin Charles Sapper, a member of the U.S. Department of Agriculture and U.S. Forest Service on the Gold Beach Hand Crew, was transporting firefighting equipment from Gold Beach to Powers Ranger District when he was involved in a vehicle accident while on duty. Benjamin Sapper suffered fatal injuries and passed away the same day. Historically, only individuals who have lived and worked in Oregon have been eligible for inclusion on the memorial wall, and Benjamin Sapper's supervisor confirmed that he was living in Oregon, living and working in Oregon, both prior to and at the time of his death. He originally was from Colorado and was planning to go to school in British Columbia later. Due to his death occurring while on duty, he meets the national memorial criteria set by the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Oregon typically follows the national criteria for inclusion on the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial, and it was confirmed a few weeks ago that Benjamin Zapper was approved to be included on the National Memorial in 2025. So with that, I will turn it over to the committee for discussion and any further questions on this nomination.
Any discussion around the placement of firefighter Benjamin Sapper on the Fallen Firefighters Memorial Wall? Discussion. Hearing none. Go ahead, sir.
Jack Kirger, I think it's very important to the integrity of both the national and the state memorial that they align with each other.
Thank you. Any other discussion or comment? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion and a second to include firefighter Benjamin Sapper on the Oregon Fallen Firefighters Memorial Wall.
Jack Carriger.
Andre Lindauer, so moved.
Okay, so I have Chief Carriger as the motion, and we'll take Lindauer as the second. With that, I'll ask DPSST staff, Madison, if you could do a roll call vote.
This vote is to nominate Benjamin Sapper and his inclusion on the Fallen Firefighters Memorial Wall. We will start with Committee Member.
Aye.
Committee Member Carriger.
Aye.
Committee Member Morneau.
Aye.
Committee Member Ponce.
Aye.
Committee Member Olson.
Aye.
Committee Member Douglas. Aye. Committee Member Lindauer.
Aye.
Committee Member McLennan.
Aye.
Committee Member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried to nominate Benjamin Sapper.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 9. This will be for Fallen Firefighter Memorial Wall nomination for retired Captain Larry D. Dean. So go ahead and if I could have DPSST staff, Brooke Bell-Ruby, if you could introduce this nomination.
Thank you, Brooke Bell-Ruby for the record. After a long career in fire service, retired City of Salem Fire Department career captain Larry Dean passed away on September 24th from esophageal cancer. Dean's cancer was designated as occupational by the City of Salem Workers' Compensation Claim Administrator. According to the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation, eligibility for inclusion on the National Memorial Wall refers to the decedent's home state cancer presumption laws. Oregon's cancer presumption laws consider the cancer occupational if the cancer is of the throat, it was diagnosed after 2009, and a claim was filed within 7 years following the firefighter's end of employment as a non-volunteer firefighter. There are specific excerpts from the Oregon Revised Statute related to occupational disease if you do have any questions about the specifics of that. But because his cancer is considered occupational, he meets the criteria for inclusion on the National Memorial Wall and therefore should be included on the Oregon Memorial Wall as well. And with that, I will turn it back to the committee for any discussions or questions.
Thank you, Brooke. I'll open it up to the committee to any discussion around retired Captain Larry D. Dean's nomination to be placed on our memorial wall. Okay. Hearing none, I'll call for a motion and a second to include Captain Larry Dean on the Oregon Fallen Firefighters Memorial Wall.
Isaac McLennan, for the record, I make a motion to confirm.
Okay, thank you, Isaac. For a second?
Rose Douglas, I'll second.
Thank you, Rose, for the second. DPSSC staff, Madison, if you could do a roll call vote.
This vote is to nominate Larry Dean on the Fallen Firefighters Memorial Wall. Start out with Committee Member Heppel.
Aye.
Committee Member Carriger.
Aye.
Committee Member Morneau.
Aye.
Committee Member Ponce,
Aye.
Committee Member Olson.
Aye.
Committee Member Douglas.
Aye.
Committee Member Lindauer.
Aye.
Committee Member McLennan.
Aye.
Committee Member Denny.
Aye.
Motion carried to nominate.
And that completes agenda item number 9. Quick question, are both of these folks going to make it
Yeah.
this year for the
Yeah.
June?
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Next agenda item is agency update.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Caleb Allrop for the record. Speaking of these last two line of duty deaths, the memorial this year will be on June 17th. That is a Tuesday, so a little bit of a deviation from years past. Juneteenth is now a holiday and that occurs on that Thursday. So we pushed it up a little bit to a Tuesday. At 1 p.m. here at DPSST, all are welcome to attend. Just keep that on your radar, save the date, and we will also be pushing out some information about it as well. We are coming off of Winter Fire School. We had that here over the weekend. So we had over 200 firefighters here. I believe the official count was 212. And from various agencies representing approximately 100 agencies all over Oregon. So went well. We had 8 NFA classes and 2 hands-on classes, and it absolutely dumped rain on them half of Saturday and all of Sunday, but everyone seemed to have a good time and still learn a lot despite the difficult weather. And so we're kind of already in the mode of planning for next year. We'll be choosing our NFA classes for next year next month. So just kind of a quick turnaround, and we'll start planning that for next year. We have some additional NFA classes too in the meantime around the state. So we will have command and control of fire department operations at target hazards. It's a long title. That is a 6-day class. We'll have it here in April. So we have some spots still remaining in that class, and we offer obviously free lodging and breakfast and lunch, dinner on their own. And then we have some leadership series classes, a couple in Hermiston, and then the whole series coming up in Klamath, and those dates are in March and April. Unfortunately, we can't provide lodging, obviously, because the campus is here. And no food with those, but I'm sure that the fire department will recommend some excellent places in the area to get some food for the breaks. So those are coming up, and I'm sure we'll be adding some more to the list throughout the year. Just kind of always pay attention to our Eventbrite page where those are typically announced, as well as our newsletter. We are planning on still having our Firefighter Academy, which starts the beginning of April and goes a couple of weekends a month through July. We only have 5 people currently signed up, so if we don't get probably about 10 more in the next couple of weeks, which is a little bit of a push, unfortunately we will likely have to cancel that. We put in a good effort, and there were several departments that did ask for this Firefighter Academy, so we are providing it, and we're happy to do so, but it does have to be cost effective and efficient for us, and we have to have a decent amount of students for the amount of work that our trainers are putting into that. So hopefully those folks will understand if we do have to cancel it. But if we don't have to cancel, that will start the first weekend in April. So looking forward to that. We had much like our firefighter task force and the rules that were presented today by Brooke and Jennifer, we had the driver task force on February 11th here at DPSST. No real major changes with that, but there was a really good, healthy discussion. Several people from kind of all over the state were in attendance, so you'll probably see that at your May meeting, likely. I don't want to speak for Jennifer and Brooke, but that's the goal, is to present that at the May meeting, so next time we meet here. And then we'll just kind of go down the line, like Brooke mentioned, and do probably airport firefighter and some discussion of marine-based firefighting. For the that have that level of certification will also take place. And then the last thing I'll mention is that we do have a bill moving through the House and the Senate that has to do with the Fire Policy Committee. So we used to have a member, and it's in statute, which is why it's a bill and moving through the House and the Senate. We used to have a member representing Oregon Fire Instructors Association. As you know, that disbanded several years ago at this point. But in the meantime, Rose Douglas has been representing that as an instructor nominated through Oregon Fire Training Associations. So we're just putting that through the motions to get it official, hopefully in statute. And so that will be hopefully permanent moving forward after that. And then I'm gonna ask Jennifer if there's anything related to bills or anything that I might, not to put you on the spot, but anything relevant that I might have missed for the committee.
No, okay, nothing to add.
Okay, great. And that is my update. I'm happy to entertain any questions anyone has.
Do you guys remember what bill number that was?
It is House Bill 2916.
Glad she's here.
Yeah. Thank you.
She sent me 100 emails about it, and I will never remember what the number is.
Yeah.
There's only 3,000 in the mix right now.
Yeah.
That's no big deal.
Any other questions for agency update? Okay, hearing none. Last agenda item here is our next meeting, and so we're scheduled for our next meeting on May 28th, 2025 at 0900. With that, I'll go ahead and close the DPSST Fire Policy Committee meeting for February 26th at 10:41. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Have a good week.